I think everybody mostly have finished eating, settling into the evening. What's coming up next is the dessert dash. And if you need to use the restroom, now might be a good time, because after the dessert dash, we're going to go right into a video, and we have a series of presentations for you. But I wanted to explain to everyone how the dessert dash works exactly. Everyone at their table should have an envelope that looks like this, and in the envelope, so in your envelope that looks like this, there's one per table, and then each person will have a ticket. Now, on the back wall here, you'll see a bunch of really nice looking desserts. And what will happen is, you will write a pledge on your ticket of how much you would like to pay for dessert. Once everyone has written their pledge on the ticket, it goes back into the envelope. And will be told of. The table that has pledged the most has first dibs at the dessert table. So a person from that table will go up, select a dessert, and that will be shared with everyone at your table. And we'll start, the first choice will go to the table that has pledged the most on the tickets for the dessert dash. Clear? Yes, and then the second highest pledging table goes next and picks a dessert, and there's a limited amount of time in which to go back to that table and pick a dessert for your table. But every table will get a dessert. And there are some gluten-free desserts there too to choose from if that's an issue. So the total tally goes on that pledge card, which everyone has.
You're going to pay it, whether you
So everyone can take your envelope and pass out your tickets. Everyone should have one ticket, and then write your dessert pledge on the ticket, and then it goes back into the envelope. And then we would have lovely assistants to tally the totals. And then select the order in which the tables go up to select their dessert, which it's called dessert dash. So there is a limited time in which to pick out the dessert for your table. So if everyone would take out their tickets and write their pledge on the ticket and put it back into the ticket, into the envelope. That makes sense. if anyone has completed envelope they'd like to give me, I can take it over to the secretary.
I just got used to saying our and what is it?
So the process of tallying everything is underway. Yeah, so it may be about 5 minutes or so as all the numbers are crunched. We're doing this analog, so no Excel spreadsheets. And just as a reminder, if you're looking for a sweet drink to tide you over, the Treasure Valley Teens for Life are raising money for their trip to Washington, D.C. in January for the March for Life at this table here.
Done this before.
Ladies and gentlemen, the results are in. And the first choice for a dessert from the dessert table, and these are going to go in sequence, so there is a limited amount of time. But the first table that can pick a dessert is table 12. So from table 12, you're going to pick a dessert, and time is of the essence. And next, to pick a dessert from the dessert table is table number 6. So someone from table number 6 can go pick a dessert from the dessert table. And now, next in line is table number 9. Someone from table number 9 can go pick a dessert from the dessert table. And next up on the dessert dash is table number 1. So from table number 1 can go and pick out a dessert. And next, in the dessert dash to the dessert table is table number 16. Number 16. And now, next up to the dessert table, and if you've been called to go to the dessert table, you can pick any dessert you want. You don't have to wait for the table ahead of you if they've been slow in choosing. So next is table number 7. Table number 7 can go and pick a dessert for their table. And next we have a tie. So 2 tables will be doing it at once. Hopefully they will be no fighting at the dessert table. Tables number 10 and 17. They tied, and so they can go up at the same time and pick their dessert from the table. And some of them are very beautiful. You might want to take a picture before you begin. Next up we have table number 5. Table number 5 can send someone to the dessert table. And next up at the dessert table is table number 13. Number 13. You're going to pick a dessert to share with everyone at your table. And there will be enough for everyone. Every table will have a dessert. The next table to pick a dessert is table number 14. table number 14 to the dessert table.
You guys won't like that dessert. We'll help them without that. It's a terrible dessert. Yeah,
And next, for the dessert dash, we have table number 4. Table number 4. And go and pick out this dessert for your table. And next up is table number 19. Table 19. Then pick a dessert from the dessert table. And next we have table number 2. Table number 2. Then pick a dessert. And next at the dessert table, we have table number 11. Table 11. And pick a dessert. And next we have table number 20. Table number 20. And pick a dessert for their table. And next we have table number 18. Number 18. We'll go and pick a dessert. And next we have table 15. Table 15. And next we have table number 8. Number 8. And get a dessert. And next up we have table number 3. Number 3 can get a dessert for their table. And now we have table number 21. Number 21. And now, if your table has not been called, that should have been all of the tables, but if your table has not been called, you can go up and get a dessert from the dessert table. And just so you know, when everyone is done eating their desserts, or as this winds down, we're going to go to a legislative update, which will be a video, and we will have the video and then some more presentations after the video. And that will start, the video will start in about 4 or 5 minutes.
be that guy. Always, oh, there's this one guy, couldn't see a thing, but he was doing it. That's why you're here somewhere. That's why I think like after watching, you actually play with it. You don't have to. I got hope that I played Cardinal years If not blind, the rest of the very intense light, got the corner on it. Had a corner. After the one procedure I had, no more on the inner section. Don't move. And they bring in 4 nurses to hold together. Well, once you get to the he didn't want to do it in my hand.
What? Oh,
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to say, first of all, there's no accounting for taste. That cake back there with the cactus and the succulents, it's beautiful. I'm sort of amazed at it, and maybe nobody wanted to cut into it and destroy such a beautiful creation. Whoever made it, I just wanted to compliment them and not think that nobody appreciated the beauty of their creation. It's a pretty amazing thing. We are about to sit for a video of a legislative update, and that will be a video on the screen here. So if everyone could sort of turn to the screen for that, and then after the video, we'll have some presentations for you. I'll see about lowering the lights a little bit, but I think we're entering the information phase of our evening. Thank you for lowering the lights. Okay, so we have the video, we're lighting it up, and if everyone could just listen in for the update here.
Friends and fellow Idahoans, there's something you need to know. A well-organized political group is trying to collect signatures to put a measure on our ballots in 2026. Their effort is called the Reproductive Freedom and Privacy Act, or RFPA, and it would radically change the law in Idaho. And they are asking for your help to make it happen. Here's what that law would mean for our state. First, the RFPA is radically pro-abortion. It would allow abortion for any reason, up until the moment that a baby can survive outside of its mother's womb on its own. That is far more extreme than even Roe versus Wade allowed. And even after that point, under a broad exception written into the law, abortion would be permitted in many cases, meaning that even if a baby could be safely delivered, abortion would still be allowed. That does not protect women. That guts protections for unborn children. Second, the RFPA is bad for parental rights. Even under Roe v. Wade, Idaho law required most minors to receive parental consent before they obtained an abortion. But the RFPA would do away with those protections. That means that an unrelated adult, even a predator, could bring a girl to a clinic for an abortion, and she could receive that abortion, no questions asked. That does not protect girls, it protects traffickers. And third, the RFPA would make transgender hormones and surgeries available to minors without parental notification or consent. That would have drastic ramifications for our healthcare system, affecting health insurance costs and taxpayers. So what can you do? If someone approaches you about signing the RFPA petition, decline to sign. Tell your friends and neighbors about the RFPA and what it really means for Idaho. And visit rtli.org to learn more, sign up for email updates, volunteer, or donate. Together, we can protect women, babies, Idaho, and our future.
Now we're going to hear from Tobias, the president of the National Light to Light Committee. She's a native of North Dakota and served on the NRLC board of directors since 1987. She has been seen on most major national news networks and several internationally. Is regularly quoted in news outlets, and I think we're lucky to have her here to speak.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. I don't know how many of you knew this or know this, but Father Dennis Day served on the National Rights Life Board of Directors for many years. And for a good portion of those years, he actually served as our treasurer. He retired from our board a few years ago, but I got to have lunch with him this afternoon. It was just a joy to be able to spend time with him again. If you don't know him, you need to get to know him because he's a wonderful guy. I am here to talk to you about a couple of things, mostly about the ballot measure that Megan was just talking about on the video. But I want to go over briefly kind of what's happening in the country first. Does anybody happen to know what happened on January 20th, 2025? We had a new administration come into Washington, D.C., and the difference between the Biden administration and the Trump administration is like night and day. Under the Biden administration, U.S. funds were given to organizations that perform or promote abortion in other countries. The Department of Health and Human Services allowed millions of dollars to go to organizations like Planned Parenthood, providing for and performing abortions. They were getting our tax dollars to do it. Long-standing protocols that were intended to support and protect women who were using the abortion pill were lifted so that she could just get them without having to talk to a doctor, and they're very dangerous, folks. If you don't know what that is, the abortion pill is sending women into the emergency rooms, and they're telling doctors, guided of course by the abortion industry, to tell them that they're having a miscarriage. Don't tell them you got the abortion pill. It's very painful. Several women who have had both surgical abortion and the abortion pill talk about how the pill is so much worse, more dangerous, more painful, physically and mentally and psychologically as well. But the pills are now being sent to them through the mail without any kind of medical condition or checking. And we've had people die We've had women die from using the abortion pill. It's being blamed on pro-life laws, but it's the fact that they didn't have to see a doctor, and there was just a lot of problems that were created. The Department of Veterans Affairs, under the Biden administration, paid for abortions for veterans and their dependents, turning, in effect, the VA hospitals into abortion facilities. The Department of Defense paid travel and transportation expenses for members of the military or their families who wanted to travel to another state to get an abortion. And of course, one thing that the Biden administration did that Idaho knows well, dealt with the whole EMTALA law and Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, basically turning emergency rooms into hospitals, into abortion facilities. And there was more. It was just a never-ending assault. Every time you turned around, the administration was doing something else to try to promote abortion. Well, then came January 20th of 2025, new president, a new administration, and it was complete night and day in this country. It doesn't mean that the battle is going to be easier, but we do know that President Trump is surrounded by pro-life people. I bet 90%, I figured it out, it's almost 90% of his cabinet, even if they have nothing to do with our issues, they are pro-life. Many people in his administration, on his staff, are pro-life. So he is hearing, whenever this would come up in any kind of issue, he is hearing from the people around him to take the pro-life position, and that's just very encouraging. But that doesn't mean that the battle can be taken less seriously, because not everything is going to happen in Washington, D.C. But for the past 50 plus years, we have been told that women should have a choice. People call themselves pro-choice, that women have the right to choose whether or not to go through with the pregnancy. Well, over the years, if you've been paying attention, we will see that they don't believe that anymore. Now, many states enacted informed consent laws, that a woman had to be told what was going to happen to her during the abortion. She had to be told about possible complications, and she had to be told about alternatives, something that is happening or required for every other surgical procedure in the country. Many states even said that she had the right to see an ultrasound of her unborn child if she wanted to. Well, the abortion industry vigorously fought those laws. They didn't want the woman to get that kind of information. They wanted to just rush her into the abortion facility, and now they want to send her the pills without giving her any of the kind of information that she really deserves to have. Abortion activists and their allies in the medical community are even trying to prevent a woman from changing her mind and seeking what we refer to as the abortion pill reversal process. Now, the chemical abortion, or medication abortion, as the industry likes to call it, is a two-step process. The woman takes the first set of pills, it's mifepristone, and what it does is start to dry up the progesterone in the uterus, basically starving the baby of any nourishment. After a day or two, she takes the second set of pills, which is the misoprostol, which is going to start cramping so that her body expels that developing baby after the nourishment has been dried out. Now, the purpose of the pill is to deprive the baby of the nourishment, and you can stop it. If a woman takes the first abortion pill, mifepristone, and then changes her mind and says, what did I do that for? I don't want to kill my baby. If she acts quickly enough and has not yet taken that second set of pills, she can get to a doctor and get basically a heavy dose of progesterone. It's the same kind of treatment that is used in many cases if a woman is suffering or experiencing a miscarriage. But she may be able to help save her baby. The abortion industry hates that treatment. They do not acknowledge abortion pill reversal. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, or ACOG, calls it junk science, even though every one of those OBGYNs has to know that it works. I am pretty sure that every one of them has already treated patients who came to them saying, I think I'm having a miscarriage, or am I having a miscarriage? And the doctor's going to say, yes, you are. Progesterone treatment is going to be one of the ways that you would try to, he or she, would try to help that woman save the baby. But they are pushing it back against abortion pill reversal, saying it's junk science. It doesn't work. Now, ACOG has written there is no scientific evidence or data to prove that medication abortion reversal is effective. Medication abortion reversal procedures could be dangerous. No scientific evidence? Maybe they should meet some of the 7,000 babies, young children, who are alive today because their moms changed their minds, went to a doctor, sought some help, was able to reverse the process. But it doesn't happen. It's not 100% effective. About 2/3 of the babies survive after this treatment. But it happens. It works. There are babies living because their moms changed their mind halfway during that abortion process. But the abortion industry refuses to acknowledge it. Colorado actually passed a law 2 years ago to charge healthcare providers with medical misconduct if they help a woman reverse the abortion. They would be charged with a $20,000 fine and a loss of their medical license for helping a woman save her baby. A Catholic health clinic in the state which works with women who are pregnant women. It's not just an abortion or a pregnancy resource center. They have a broader range, but they challenged the law. And it was just 2 weeks ago that a federal court judge said that the law violated the clinic's religious beliefs, and the state can't force the clinic to stop because there's no proof that it's hurting anyone. Now, I don't know why the judge didn't just enjoin the whole law. He just said it was for this particular clinic. So we'll see if Colorado is now going to pursue other healthcare providers for helping women to save their babies. We have also seen increased activity against pregnancy centers coming from the abortion industry and their allies in the media and the Democratic Party. They detest anyone who provides valuable free services to women who want and need help. And for some reason, they have put the pregnancy centers into their crosshairs. New York has filed lawsuits against pregnancy centers for promoting abortion pill reversal. The Massachusetts legislature actually appropriated $1 million for a statewide ad campaign to destroy the reputation of the pregnancy centers. Now again, ACOG, the College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists states, it's important that people understand their options and know their resources, including how to recognize and avoid facilities such as crisis pregnancy centers run by people who operate unethically and with the intention to dissuade, deter, or prevent them from seeking certain reproductive health care options. Now, ACOG is an organization that is supposed to care for 2 patients, mother and baby. But a primary concern of theirs is making sure that pregnant women don't go to pregnancy centers for help to have the baby. Now, some states, California, Illinois, several in New England, and others, have tried to force required speech on the centers, even telling them that if a woman comes through the doors, you have to tell them where they can go to get an abortion. Now, thankfully, the courts are still standing firm on the First Amendment and saying you can't force them to give that kind of information out. But some Democrat members of Congress have introduced legislation that would require the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, to prohibit what they call deceptive and misleading information by the pregnancy centers. They are upset that the centers provide women with the information that they deserve to have before making that life or death decision for their babies. The FTC would be given the power and authority to investigate and penalize any center the FTC determined to be deceptive. Now, this bill, thankfully, is not going to go anywhere in the current Congress. But these kind of efforts are not going to stop. 5 pro-abortion members of Congress have asked Google and other tech companies to limit the appearance of crisis pregnancy centers on their websites. So if the pregnant woman goes online and says, what help is available, what pregnancy help is available in my area or near me, the pregnancy centers would not show up in that search, but the abortion facilities would. Over the past few years, we've seen Yelp and other companies that do reviews on different businesses place a consumer notice on pregnancy centers saying that they provide limited medical services and they may not have medical personnel on site. New Jersey has actually gone after the pregnancy centers, and a case has been accepted by the United States Supreme Court. They will hear it sometime in this next session, probably in the fall or early next year. But they want all the records from the pregnancy center, including a list of other donors. Now, why does the state of New Jersey need to know who is donating to the pregnancy center? What we are seeing over and over and over again is that life is no longer an acceptable choice. They don't want women to make the choice for life. So they're going after the pregnancy centers, they're going after the healthcare providers who are doing abortion pill reversal. They are doing everything they can to remove life as an option. So when they say that they are pro-choice, don't believe them, because they really are not. And it's against this, or in this backdrop of our opponents being so hardcore that they want women to have no other option but abortion, that they have decided to focus on the wonderful state of Idaho. They are going to try to change your laws to allow abortion up to the moment of viability. Michigan, and I want to give you a few states just in the last couple of years, this has been news, so you're going to be familiar with them. Michigan had a law passed in 1931 that protected preborn children. Well, because of a statewide initiative, they now have no limits on abortion throughout pregnancy. Missouri, another very pro-life state, now has a law that allows abortion through viability. That is generally considered to be 22 to 24 weeks, more than halfway through the pregnancy, although babies have survived earlier. But their law, because of a statewide ballot measure, now allows abortions up through viability. Arizona had an old law in the books that said abortions would be limited at 15 weeks. After Roe v. Wade was overturned, that law went back into effect. 15 weeks. That's getting pretty far along into the pregnancy. A ballot measure last year changed their laws to where abortion is now available up to viability. And it allows the abortions to determine after viability if the abortion is needed to protect the life or physical or mental health of the patient. That could be a pretty big loophole. In 2022, the Colorado legislature enacted a law allowing abortion throughout pregnancy. That wasn't good enough. Last year they had a ballot measure and it passed so that the state now has to pay for abortions in the state. Maryland law had no limits, but just to make sure that it's a good firm, they put it on their ballot to amend their constitution. And like Colorado, they ended up no limits and constitutionally mandated tax funding. You don't want that to happen in Idaho. And it's coming at you. Kansas, the state, population-wise, not much bigger than Idaho, and they were the first ones out of the gate after Roe v. Wade was overturned. 2022, August primary, they were going to try to, their state Supreme Court has said abortion is allowed in Kansas because of the Constitution. So they had something on the ballot saying, we're just going to amend the Constitution saying, that abortion is not part of our Constitution. Well, as they were going through that campaign, that's when the Supreme Court came down and said, Roe v. Wade has been overturned. Kansas, little Kansas, unsuspecting, first ballot measure out of the gate, they had $20 million dropped on them in ad campaigns against their measure. So they lost. I don't know why or where our opponents are getting this money, but believe me, you're going to be seeing all kinds of money poured into the state from people that don't live here, that don't care about anything but killing babies. Maryland, I'm going to ask you to take time, not that you have to do it tonight, but sometime in the next few days, go through in your mind how much the pro-life laws in this state mean to you and what you are willing and able to do to help protect them. This is going to come up. You're going to be hearing it for the next 9 months as the positions are being elected. I am going to encourage you to set aside time, figure out what are your priorities, where do you spend your time, and put the ballot measure, if not at the top of the list, but very close to the top of the list. Figure out what talents you have, what your energies are, what your interests are. First of all, as Megan said on the screen, define to sign. Encourage everybody. If you are approached to sign the petition to get this on the ballot, just say no and walk away. We don't want this on the ballot because you will have millions of dollars coming in next year in your election if you are. And I would encourage you also to start figuring out how you're going to respond to some of the questions that you're going to get. Have conversations with your family, your friends, your neighbors. Ask if they are aware about what is at stake. Did you know that this measure, if passes, babies could be killed up to viability? By that age, they're fully developed. They're more than halfway through the pregnancy. The heart is beating and the brain is functioning. They're doing somersaults inside mommy's tummy, and they can pick up and they can smile. Everything is there. It's just waiting. There's a couple more months that they can continue to grow so that they can be born and continue outside the uterus, outside the womb. They're doing somersaults. It's an exciting time. Do you really think that our laws would allow those babies to be killed? Maybe ask them questions. Rather than telling them something, ask them to kind of think about it. That's really what you want for our state. The most common argument that you are going to hear is about women dying if they can't get an abortion. That has been used effectively in other states, and you know they're going to be trying it here as well. Some of them are going to say, if a woman can die, we have to change the law. And many of them are going to personalize it. If my wife was pregnant, if my sister was pregnant, if my daughter was pregnant and was having a problem with that pregnancy, abortion has to be an option. Now you could come back and say, that's ridiculous. No woman has died in the state of Idaho because she couldn't get an abortion. Or you can do, there are a lot of stories out there that are true. Do you really think that Idaho is going to woman to die because she can't get that abortion? Idaho law allows doctors to use their good faith medical judgment in a situation like that, so that they can take care of your wife, your sister, your daughter, and also do their best to save the baby. Maybe that isn't going to be possible, but they're going to be doing their best to save those women. We're hearing a lot of scary stories, but you can't believe them. Don't believe them. You need to start talking with the people, those you know especially, but even strangers if you have the opportunity, if it comes up. There will be other arguments. I recently read a story from Idaho talking about how people in the rural areas aren't getting the medical care that they need because of your state law on abortion. Let me let you in on a little secret. Rural communities, low population areas all over this country have problems with getting medical care. It's got nothing to do with abortion. It's everything to do with the fact that it's hard to have a very nice, fancy medical supply or medical hospital, medical facility with doctors and all the latest equipment when you don't have the population nearby to support it. Besides having all the equipment and all the supplies, you also need the doctors. Well, not a lot of doctors are going to go to rural areas if they're going to get, in their mind, basically minimum wage because the area just can't support the doctors. So you're going to be hearing all kinds of stories. And they're going to try to blame it all on Roe v. Wade being overturned and on Idaho having a crazy law. So I'm just going to encourage you to actually get together with some friends. And there's going to be some more direction from right like Idaho, and there's going to be a lot more out there coming. This is still, not that it's new, but the petition drive is really kind of started. But get some friends together and sit down and say, okay, what arguments have we heard? And then practice. How would you respond if someone said that to you? You might kind of feel like you kind of know what you want, but getting the word out sometimes isn't all that easy. So get a group together and say, okay, this you are afraid of, and then do your best to explain why this bill maybe goes too far. You don't want it to pass, you don't want it to become law in Idaho, and just then encourage them to decline to sign. Don't assume that because they're nice people or because they are your friends, they're going to vote right. Just because they're always in the pew right in front of you every week doesn't mean that they will understand the consequences of this law. They won't understand the bad outcomes that result. So I encourage you to work with other churches and other groups. The forces and the money arrayed against you is going to come. It's going to be unbelievable. So just be ready for it. There are going to be ads, TV, radio, news stations, newspapers. They're all going to be carrying the worst stories. You need to be ready and just don't get shocked. Don't be scared. We can fight back. But we're going to have to do a lot of that one-on-one, just outreach to people that we know. But the churches are going to have to be involved. Catholics, Protestants, and Mormons, and evangelicals, they're all going to have to do their part. But it's going to take more than that. I just, looking just recently, something came out from the federal government. They did a survey of households around the country based on asking questions on social and economic issues. And they reported that 72% of Idahoans describe themselves as Christian, but only 28% attend church once or more a month. So even if a pro-life message is preached from every pulpit in the state on a weekly basis, that 28% isn't going to be enough to get this ballot measure defeated. So I'm encouraging you again. We need a united effort with a united message, and we have to all be out there doing what we can to influence the people in our lives. I'm asking you to set aside time to help fight this battle, set priorities, and make sure that this is at the top. Idaho is an amazing champion when it comes to protecting unborn children. You really are a jewel in this part of the country. Our affiliates in Washington, Washington and Oregon, close to great places. They'd love to give you their legislature and take yours. But they're still working. You know, they're educating people and they're doing what they can to convince very pro-abortion people that life is precious. Please do everything you can to make sure you don't have to battle that here. Just keep your laws. And I hope that you will invite me back next year after this is over to celebrate a huge victory. Thank you.
And next we'll be hearing from the president of Right to Life of Idaho, John Keenan.
Good evening. I'm going to step back a bit here. My name is John Keenan. I'm the president of Right to Life of Idaho, and I'm stepping away tonight. I plan to introduce our new president, but I have a few comments. I want to affirm some of the things Carol said, and I so appreciate being here and stating bluntly some of the costs that may come with this initiative passes. What I want to tell you is a little bit about what is the history of it, the danger of modern thinking, and what we've done and what we hope to do over the next few years. But let me not kid you, it's a pretty serious time. Not only due to life, but our very culture, which you come, so many of you have come to Idaho to enjoy. Not only those born here, those who have moved here, the radical change that's come with the passage of this initiative. Not just about life, about a way of it. It is Idaho. So it's cultural, social, more importantly, it's about children. And that's what's so important. The most innocent among them. I'd first like to introduce our board. And Sarah, are you here, Sarah? Howard? Over here. Sarah, right there. And then Emily Nog, Tammy Payne, Julie Kessler, right here. And I've got everybody. Megan is not here, correct? Anyone else? Other than me? Okay, I just wanted to make sure they get recognized. Really Another member of our board is here in spirit, and not in fact, is Carrie Lincoln. Carrie carries with her to the legislature an incredible wall of confidence and integrity in helping build the law of the last, I think, 30, 35 years here in Idaho, with the sole purpose of protecting the unborn, with the spin-off effect of protecting the culture in the state of Idaho, which has been such a role. And that combined with Megan Wall and her husband moved here in the last few years, and they have become a powerful part of the Right to Life community in helping to defend the laws in the state of Idaho. So it's really important to recognize that this effort has been so far so good and gloriously thankful, and I'm part of that. It's been a privilege. One of the things that we deal in the modern era is kind of an error of thinking, and an error of thinking is what some of the philosophers call nominalism. It's where we just simply name what we are. We see this in the modern trans movement, where I'm a woman, or I'm this, or I'm that. And yet it's against their very nature to so declare. How have we not done that with children? Calling them a mere clump of cells with a life, when in fact they are human beings, and how quickly we can garbage someone by naming what they are through names. We saw that in World War II. This is a great error, and all of us fall short of the glory of God, right? No question. And all of us do that to ourselves, we lie to ourselves. But when it becomes a social issue, it impacts the weakest among us, which is none other than the children. And among the children, the most powerful point of this is that it attacks and kills the most innocent among us, which is the unborn. So it's something that we need to resolve, we all need to resolve, is to live in truth and not to fool ourselves. Because out there somewhere is always a victim. What have we done over the last few years? The overturning of Roe v. Wade was a wonderful fact. Couldn't believe it. Those who have marched for years and been trying to be part of the solution instead of the problem began to see on the horizon more opportunities to save lives. And we're walking through that. But what we've seen as a result of that is the abortion law in the state of Idaho. We began to create like a machine of lies to state that ectopic pregnancies could not be performed. Molar pregnancies could not be performed. Lie after lie after lie. And it hit the pages, and they created this emergency that could not be handled in this emergency situation. Carol touched on the impulse, and all of this was false. And yet it was just simply a method of trying to how do we tackle it. And as a board, as a society of the right to life, we tried to sit down and say, what can be done? The Defense of Life Act was amended through Carrie's efforts and Megan's efforts to amend it so it made it much more clear and answer the logical issues. And one of the things we wanted to work on was actually to get some definition. The Supreme Court of the City of Idaho, everybody aware of Justice Brody's decision, which was handed down on January 3rd of 23, makes it abundantly clear about the issue of abortion in Idaho. Did you read about it in the country? No. But Megan and Emily have worked together, and that's the next thing you'll see here, the full page video. Is there, Emily is interviewing Megan, and she's explaining the truth with regard to the law in the state of Idaho, with regard to emergency abortion, about ectopic pregnancies and the like. We try to counter the lies. Last, Carol talked about, I think, ultimately started talking about the one Idaho. Having been born and raised here, I agree completely. Whenever I leave the state, I proverbially come home and kiss the ground. I love this state. And the thing is, we are on a threshold of things to change. We could impact our And in doing so, because this Navigate, the guy that called Idaho Family Policy Council, and we have entered an agreement to try to work with them on this mission, and working with others to try to raise the funds. How much is it going to take? Probably a couple million. But it is worth everything. Lastly, I want to introduce our new president. Part of it is because Emily has been part of the solution. Wife, mother of 4 children, physician, and crazy busy. And she has been asking part to work with. And she's been part of the package of putting all of this together, putting the work together that it takes to do things, and working with Megan and doing the videos that are necessary. So it's my pleasure to introduce our new president of Right Flag of Idaho, Emily Nolan.
Good job, guys. Really good to be here. Very good. John hasn't actually talked, so he said a lot of things I was going to say. So I know it's getting a little bit to bedtime, so I will keep this short. But John is, he's on the board, super faithful, very thankful for all of his service. He is a lawyer, and one of the things, sometimes Right to Life Idaho gets all the credit because people don't actually distinguish between the different pro-life organizations that there are. So I will talk a little bit about Right to Life Idaho, just who we are. One of the things I've been working on, and it's been an exercise in frustration, is revamping our website. We kind of built this whole new website, and then it kind of tripped to the finish line. So we still have our old website up, but the marketing guy I was working with, he said that our website screams, "Trust us, we do good," but not actually enough meat. Like, what do you actually do? Where does the money really go in these things? And of course, in our line of work, we have to be strategic sometimes, and we can't just put everything all out there. But we're probably most famous. We do legislation and education, and then we have this little niche where a lot of times we're actually educating the legislators and things like that. So one of the things we put together in this piece of education is a little Mythbusters video that I'm going to have Rob cue now.
Well, thank you, Megan, for joining me today to answer some questions about the Idaho abortion laws. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. As many of our audience know, in 2022, the Idaho abortion laws changed. With the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs decision, most abortions are now illegal in Idaho. But with these criminal penalties, do any of them apply to women or just the doctors? No. Under Idaho law, there are criminal penalties that apply to doctors, but never to a woman who seeks an abortion herself. She is always protected. Now, what if there is a medical emergency? Is a pregnant woman able to get care if her life is at risk? Yes. Idaho's Defense of Life Act includes important exceptions for medical emergencies and pregnancies that threaten a woman's life. Does she have to be near death? Does it get that specific? So the Idaho law provides this exception for when a woman's life is threatened. And then on top of that, the Idaho Supreme Court has interpreted the law and given us more guidance about what it means. And it says that there is no degree of certainty that a doctor needs to have in order to act. And also no degree of immediacy to the harm. So there's no certain percent chance that a woman's life is threatened before a doctor can act. Also, the law provides for doctors to use their good faith medical judgment, and the Idaho Supreme Court said that includes the clinical judgment that doctors exercise for their patients all the time. Now, there's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of times you hear about ectopic pregnancies. Of course, we know that can be deadly for women. Can you address what we know about Idaho law with ectopic pregnancy? Yes. So an ectopic pregnancy or a molar pregnancy is one that implants someplace other than the uterus. These pregnancies are never viable and they are life-threatening. So when a doctor needs to remove them, Idaho law specifically provides that is not an abortion. It's never restricted. And what about miscarriage? Idaho's law contains specific exceptions for miscarriage. Near death, does it get that specific? So the Idaho law provides this exception for when a woman's life is threatened, and then on top of that, the Idaho Supreme Court has interpreted the law and given us more guidance about what it means. And it says that there is no degree of certainty that a doctor needs to have in order to act, and also no degree of immediacy to the harm. So there's no certain percent chance that a woman's life is threatened before a doctor can act. Also, the law provides for doctors to use their good faith medical judgment, and the Idaho Supreme Court said that that includes the clinical judgment that doctors exercise for their patients all the time. Now, there's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of times you hear about ectopic pregnancies. Of course, we know that can be deadly for women. Can you address what we know about Idaho law with ectopic pregnancies? Yes. So an ectopic pregnancy or a molar pregnancy is one that implants someplace other than the uterus. These pregnancies are never viable and they are life-threatening. So when a doctor needs to remove them, Idaho law specifically provides that is not an abortion. It's never restricted. And what about miscarriage? Idaho's law contains specific exceptions for miscarriage.
Okay.
I didn't do it.
The miscarriage is the very last little bit that she talked about. And the reason we included these things is because every day you hear people saying crazy things like, oh, I had a miscarriage, I guess I'm pro-choice now. What? Miscarriage is not an abortion, but the medical term, like spontaneous abortion, is a miscarriage, but obviously elective abortion is a completely different thing. And so I'm not sure why it glitched. I've watched that movie like 100 times through all the editing process. But it is a big file, and so we will get those on our website, and then you can share those with media and whatnot. And I really like, we wanted to put the Idaho code, all the references in there, because if they try to say, women are not protected, they are. If you look up the code, you can just type in Idaho code and that number, and it'll show you right where it is. So, a little bit more about what we do. We don't have all of the organizations straight. The big thing we do is the March for Life in Boise. And so this past year, we had a great year. We had about 2,000 people come out and march with us. Our keynote speaker was the president of the American Academy of Pro-Life OBGYNs. And she really helped clarify, it's like, say it again, that it's really not a problem with the pro-life laws. A lot of it is a problem with the lies surrounding the law. And so I think the lawyers have kind of scared doctors into practicing, the way they know that they should, and so there can be some real fear that could interfere with the care, but we will continue to work so that is not the case, because as it shows, women are protected, and a lot of times in these scary situations, it's very easy just to live with a baby, even if it's early, and they don't have to resort to abortion. I'll have to talk a little bit about money. We're getting at the end here, so we got to talk a little about money. The March for Life costs about $5,000. When I joined the board a few years ago, I was surprised at how expensive some of this stuff is. But by the time you have your speakers, and it's, I think, like $1,500 or more that we have to pay for security and all the things, the march does get costly. And we don't do a big push for donations, so we always come up short on the cost of March for Life. The fair booth which is kind of a right to life, like all the chapters, we usually put booths at the fair. And we put some of the stuff that we keep at the fair booth and on that back table, the fetal models and these sorts of things. And there's a little extra insurance, and then we're paying the admission for over 60 volunteers. The Western Idaho Fair is actually the largest event in Idaho, with 250,000 people attending over 10 days. And so our presence there, I think, does have, ripples that we probably don't know about, but it is costly, $800 or more. We don't get that back. One thing that I was really excited about that we were able to support with our dollars this past year is the We Care Idaho Billboard Project. I remember when the Billboard Project started, they had a great billboard, and pregnancy is not the end, it's a new beginning. much, like they touched on with the culture that you think, pregnancy didn't end, but it did, was beautiful in the beginning. And so the specific project that we wanted to support this past year is about abortion for reversal. So Idaho, obviously, for abortion is illegal on the whole, but only an hour away or 45 minutes from where I live in Meridian, you can go to Ontario, Oregon, and get an abortion. And they're in a lull where they don't have an abortionist doing surgical abortions at the moment, praise God, but they do still dispense the pills legally, just right over the border in Ontario. So what we have is we have billboards as you're coming back into Idaho for abortion for reversal, so that they're able to see these billboards and hopefully take a second chance on life. And those billboards are and so that's expensive, but it's worth it. And so we've talked about the ballot initiative. I'm not going to get too much into the nitty-gritty here, but when you read it, of course, they're trying to make it sound not that bad. Miscarriage, these things, just trying to guarantee health for women and families. But when you read it with a lawyer, John or Megan, and we're working with the coalition, there's lawyers too, it's about like 10 times, 100 times worse than what you think, because instead of being very precise in the language, everything is very vague. And when they talk about viability, they actually redefine viability for it to be even further along than the general definition. So usually we think of viability as when a baby can survive with medical treatment. But they redefined it as when the doctor feels they have a high likelihood of surviving without extraordinary measures. And so we know from end-of-life care that extraordinary measures can mean a lot of different things, and it's all put into the actually practitioner's opinion. So pre-Roe v. Wade, it had to be a doctor for the abortion, but now they've used more general terms, so it could be a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant or whomever. And so that does also change the game, because we've been lucky with late-term abortions that just our state didn't have doctors willing to do them. But yeah, who knows when they start opening all these doors, and then the reproductive rights and the vague language could lead to transgender stuff. I'm sure you guys kind of remember the story of the Idaho prisoner who, like, the state of Idaho had to pay for sex change and some of this crazy stuff that they can go to the door too. So one thing that distinguishes Right to Life of Idaho is we are all volunteer, and so John has given such great legal expertise over the years, and we are all volunteer, that we all just have really big hearts and passions for this, and so that's one of the things that will distinguish us. And as far as he mentioned, it's just a Pentecostal element. I thought, just have this unified message, but no, you have to do, like right off the bat, we're going to have to spend about $60,000 to do polling, because you have to tailor the message to each audience. And so it's not going to be just one unified message. It's going to be a lot of really strategic, smart messaging to this generation, to these people in different populations. And so we're definitely going to be smart about it and join the team. And so my wish, my dream, is to just crush this ballot initiative, so that it's not every 2 years they're going to try to be putting some new thing on the ballot. In some ways, it's because it is so radical. I mean, it's kind of like too radical for Idaho. I feel like if they had tried to be a little less aggressive, they would have had a better chance. But still, we want them to see it as a waste of money. We want them to see Idaho as small potatoes and not try to pour in all this outside money to try to gut our pro-life laws, which we're so proud of. We have some of the strongest laws in the state. And so before I close here, there is the opposition for this ballot initiative. They are using a website called Back to Idaho, and part of their strategy is like back to privacy, back to freedom, back to not having an abortion ban. And so they've also put on that website, though, where they're doing these signature gatherings. And because you have to have 6% of, I think, 13 counties, Boise County is a very low population state, so they don't have to have as many signatures. So they've been focusing on Boise County, Idaho City. And so Karen Simpkins and I which we led 40 Days for Life. Some a lot of you maybe know 40 Days for Life. We led 40 Days for Life together for a long time. We were like, well, let's go prayer warrior mode and go to where they're collecting signatures and see what it's like. And so it took us a little bit, but we found where it was, and it was just this little off-the-road marker. And yeah, we just said, hey, not to be awkward, but we'll take these signs, let's take the signs to sign, praying that people will sign the petition. And the gal was real nice, which made me think she was probably a paid ballot collector. Some states you don't have, that's illegal, but in our state that's not the case. And so they can just pay people to collect these signatures. So she sat up there for 2 hours and just had a giant sign that said petition, and then it was really gratifying when about, I would say 2/3 of the people didn't sign it. And several of them came over to us and rolled down the window and said, oh yeah, I'm with you guys. That's abortion? No, I'm not doing that. And it was real sweet. So I do, that's just the kind of the beginning, but it was encouraging for us to see that it was not some giant rally with, so if you're not on the Right Side of Idaho mailing list, please join it. We do send out updates, and one of the things we will be updating, we'll probably do like a ballot initiative breakdown where we'll invite people and we'll kind of go through it. It's really not that long, about 3 pages, but we'll go through some of the particulars of that. Hopefully with Megan, who was featured in videos. She's an attorney, very eloquent, very smart. And so yes, watch your email for that. Thank you to everyone who signed up to volunteer at our fair coming up. The Western Idaho Fair starts Friday. So before I pass the mic back to MC, I just wanted to make sure everyone understood this little card. So this is we wanted to just make it easy so you only have to pay one time. So this is the pledge card, and then you can add up how much you want to pledge. But I will tell you, those extra desserts are going into the auction. I mean, instead of them, you might as well buy some raffle tickets. So we will give you a few minutes to buy raffle tickets. It's $6 for $5, but it's your pledge. So you can pledge $10 raffle tickets or however many. Rick's got it over there by the bar. And then we've, God bless her heart, there was a gal named Laura. After the march, she was gung-ho for life. She wanted to volunteer, and she wanted to help with this event. And then she found out her cancer came back, and she really wanted to do a raffle. And I was like, I don't think we're going to mess with that. She was like, well, we should have a raffle. And so she collected some of these prizes. There's a $100 gift card for the movie theater, and then some other kind of random stuff. And so what we'll do is we'll kind of do it like the dessert dash. We're going to draw the raffle numbers, and you can come up and pick whatever prize you want off the table, including the desserts. And so I hope that makes sense, that you can check what you want. If you want to put the envelope, a check, an actual, like writing out a check, you can do that. We know people like to do that. And we like it when you do that too, because then there's no credit card fees. But then you can check that box and then put your check in this envelope. If you'd like, I know last year at my table, a lot of people did that. They just use this QR code, and then that takes you to our website. You can donate. It's through PayPal. You just enter your credit card number, or if you have PayPal set up, you can do that too. That is pretty quick and easy. Or the third option is Julie Katzenberger, our vice president. She has a square where you can just take your credit card and swipe it. And we just certainly appreciate your most generous donation, because we are kind of at this crossroads with the ballot initiative coming. They have until April 30th to get roughly 70,000 signatures. Unfortunately, most of the time they get the signatures, so we're not spending a ton of money into the Decline to Sign campaign, but we're using it as a way to get people talking about that this is coming, because when it goes on the ballot, we will be voting for it in November of 2026. Hopefully it doesn't get it, but there's a chance. But if it does, we need to really make sure we just smash this thing and it fails miserably, and that would be a dream come true. So thank you everyone for coming. We will draw the raffle in maybe like, I don't know, 5 minutes-ish. So go ahead and buy your raffle tickets and tally up your pledge cards. Thank you so much.
going to complete the raffle, and the raffle prizes are on the table there with the black tablecloth. And then when we're done with the raffle, then we'll go to a closing prayer with John Strain from Rachel's Vineyard. That'll be as soon as the raffle is complete.
Right here to see something?
I wanted to pay more.
Oh.
Isn't this where we pay for it?
Yeah, so it's still, we have midwives that like
I think this
is pick the tickets. Emily will say what the prize. So you just pick a prize. So you go back to the table and you won on the raffle. You go back and pick one of the prizes, including one of the desserts. And the first winner we have is number 668-7325. 668-7325. The last four numbers are 7325. That's you? So you can go ahead and pick one. The next one is 7223. The last four digits are 7223. We have a winner over here. So you can pick any one of the raffle prizes, including the desserts. The next one, the last four digits are 7232. 7232. We have a winner here. So you can go ahead and pick anything from the raffle table. The next one is 7187. 7187. Does anybody have 7187? That's the last four digits. The next one is 7179. 7179. And we have 7311. After that we have 7322. So we're looking at the last four digits on the ticket. We have 7185. After that we have 7143. So we have 7143. We have the winner over here. So you can pick anything from the table. We have 7257. Does anybody have 7527? And then 7249. And we have 7206. 7206, we have one over there. You can pick up anything from the raffle table. And then 7135. Then we have 7218. The last four digits on your ticket. 7320. Then we have 7273. 7273 and 7299. Those are all the winners. And now, I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and we would like to conclude with a prayer. If everybody could bring their attention to the front of the room. The raffle has been completed, and now we would like to wrap up with a prayer. I'd like to introduce John Strain from Rachel's Vineyard, and we'll be wrapping up this evening with a prayer by John.
Thank you. So Father John opened with a Protestant prayer. Well, I'm a Protestant pastor. He's working with Rachel's Vineyard for about 17 years. And I'd like to close with a Catholic prayer. However, after 17 years, I still don't have the hand signals down. So what I can say is this: in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lord Jesus Christ, we come to you. You are the good shepherd, and you're the one who said, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that you might have life and have it abundantly. And so we enter into this, participating with Idaho Right to Life in this most critical event in front of us. And we are asking you, what do we need to know and what do we need to do? And we want to face our own fear before you, feeling alone or feeling powerless, that we're not alone and we're not powerless. You, the river of life, flow in and through us. And so we ask you to speak and whisper to our heart how we might respond, whether giving or verbalizing things to people or whatever role we might play. Would you whisper to our hearts in such a way that we can hear your voice and we will stand for life? We pray this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your contributions and your efforts.
I'm from Chicago.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to steal your
No. Oh.